Let's talk about women in bodybuilding and what are the potential short-term and long-term implications of not just the lifestyle, but competing in the sport for years on end. Thank you guys for tuning in again. If you're new to this channel, my name is DeMesquita. I'm a healthy lifestyle business owner. I've competed in competitive bodybuilding for 8 years and almost 20 shows. And my husband and I own DeMesquita Nutrition and work with several clients who are lifestyle as well as competitive athletes. And through our experiences, my personal experience, as well as other clients that we work with, we have learned a lot about the female body. Of course, you want to have a coach who's knowledgeable about women's health, but I hate to say it, there's so many out there that don't take the time to learn or they don't educate their clients. So that's one of the reasons I started this channel a few years back, was to share my fitness journey, and now I'm trying to educate more about how to live a healthy lifestyle as a busy woman and obtain that dream body and life that you desire. When it comes to competitive bodybuilding, I think that allure comes from the stage lean look with the beautiful makeup, the stunning suit, and these beautiful posing routines. And when we first see someone who's an athlete and competitor, we're like, man, they are flawless. I want to look exactly like them. I want to be shredded and muscular. And that's it. End of story. I know that's how I started. I saw a woman in the gym training and I saw her physique. Actually, social media wasn't even big at that point. And I was like, I want to start doing competitive bodybuilding. Now, later down the line, you start to learn what all goes into being a competitive athlete, how competitive it really gets at the higher levels. And now as the sport has continued to evolve, the categories are becoming more muscular, leaner, conditioning is king still, especially in female and male categories. And honestly, the level of talent from a younger age is growing, which is awesome. I mean, I'm 31, and some of these girls turning pro have literally been competing for 2 years, and they're in their early 20s. So kudos to them. They've got some newbie gains for sure. Some of them hardly even use any performance-enhancing substances. Now that is part of the conversation today, is what's involved, what can impact you in the short term and long term, and things that people don't consider from a general populace standpoint. Let's take a moment to think about the female body. The female body has 2 jobs. 1, to survive and live. 2, to reproduce. That's it. So when it comes to building muscle, developing a physique, getting stage lean and conditioned below 10% body fat, these are things that are not normal. These are things that are almost classified as like superhero-like. And to obtain certain looks, you are going to have certain sacrifices. There's a lot of people that reduce certain foods from their diet. Maybe they do low carb or keto or high protein, low carb, low fat for a long time. Maybe you're doing a lot of cardio. A lot of people don't understand some of these athletes are doing over an hour, sometimes 2 hours of cardio a day to get to a certain stage lean look. Then you add in the performance enhancing substances, whether it's just fat burners, caffeine, or you start going up the tier of different androgen, anabolic steroids, testosterone, you name it. Thyroid replacement therapy. There's a lot that is being added on to get to this level. So what can happen during this process? Well, 1, we think about those 2 focuses for the female body. If the female gets stressed, not just from a physical standpoint, but an emotional standpoint, you're having downregulation of the hypothalamus pituitary axis way. Even if someone says, oh, I don't get stressed. If you have conversations in your head, complaining about yourself, thinking about your to-do list, worrying about the next day, you stress. So when we have even subconscious mental stress, this can impact our health a whole level. What are some of those things and what can they look like? 1, gut distress. Usually the gut is one of the first things to start getting impacted. Acid reflux, belching, bloating can all be signs from stress. Increasing your stomach acid naturally can be a good quick fix solution. Sometimes you need to go more invasive, healing the gut, getting GI mapping, etc. Thyroid downregulation. We know that when cortisol is impacted, usually increased, it can impact our adrenals, which impacts our thyroid and sex hormones. These are typically lowered and get out of whack, which can in turn impact our metabolism. Hormone imbalances, loss of menses. A lot of times you hear women saying they lose their menstrual cycle during prep. Usually it's because their body is showing signs of being overstressed. I will say there are ways to maintain a period and do it healthy. I've lost my period during preps. I've also kept my period during full preps and also hit the leanest I've ever been and kept a normal menstrual cycle. It is possible. Body composition will improve over time. And this is something I've learned that every single prep is gonna be different, but usually it's easier to get leaner. I use the term easier loosely. Your body typically responds better the more times you do a cut. But the caveat to that is your body in a healthy state before you start the cut? That goes back to the gut health, thyroid health, sex hormones. You can improve your muscle mass and your physique long term and short term doing competition preps. Maintaining a leaner look year round without having to be in an extreme caloric deficit or being able to push more food and stay a little bit leaner. It is possible. You can also improve your metabolic rate the more muscle mass that you have, and this is shown in scientific data as well. Now, one other thing that may happen is eating disorders. I do know a lot of people come to bodybuilding because they're trying to heal an area of their life and the gym becomes their saving grace. I also know a lot of people either have or develop eating disorders as they start to compete. So that is something to keep in mind if you're looking to get into the sport, is knowing what's your relationship with food and acknowledging your relationship with food might not get better, it might get worse. So please do keep that in mind. Now, these are all short-term pros and cons. Long-term, some of them will remain the same, but I want to add on some that are imperative to think about. First and foremost, hair loss. I do know a lot of women, and I've had issues with my hair myself, that their hair will get dry and brittle, it'll start thinning, they will have a receding hairline from that continued stress on the body. Sometimes it's hard to reverse that naturally. It is possible, but you have to be very regimented. In addition to that, your skin. If you don't take care of any acne that comes along from PED use, stress, thyroid, gut imbalances, trust me, cystic acne is no fun. I've been there too. It can be healed and you can make it better long term. This is the best my skin has ever looked in my life. So definitely possible. Hirsutism, the growing of hair on your face, typically in the upper lip or the chin area. Obviously no one wants this, especially as a woman, but sometimes if our androgens or natural testosterone gets too elevated, this can start to happen. Thinning of the skin, decreased collagen over time. I notice this a lot, especially with masters athletes who are in their 40s and 50s that have been training and competing for years. They look amazing when they get lean, don't get me wrong. But if you look at their face, a lot of them have very poor collagen production, and you can see it in how gaunt and how patchy and wrinkly they get right around the eye, even in the cheekbone. And this is why a lot of athletes will get fillers to try and hide that a little bit. If you don't keep your collagen high and your skin elasticity good, it can really catch up to you very fast. Body fat composition can change as well, good or bad, depending on your hormones. So long term, there is a risk of downregulation of the thyroid, sex hormones, adrenals, and the gut if you don't correct them in improvement seasons. That's why taking time off is so important. This can get very extreme very quickly if these things aren't corrected or the markers are not looked at. There is a risk of autoimmune conditions. I know several people who were great athletes that over time developed things like Graves' disease, Hashimoto's, Crohn's, IBS, PCOS, you name it. Definitely something to be considerate of. If you have a preconceived condition in your family, or you do gene testing and you see that you have certain genetic traits, it might be a good sign whether you should compete or not. Now, last but not least, female virilization. And this can be in several different areas. Masculinization can happen over time, not even from using steroids, but just from dieting and training, growth hormone, grunting in the gym. I even think of masculinization in the way that you walk, the way that you carry yourself, how you dress. And I went down that path a little bit, and I had to reel myself back because I realized I was getting a little bit too far. Now, there is a true science showing that if you use something even like an Anavar, it can impact your brain in triggering some of that more animalistic response, which we do typically correlate to masculinity primal, if you will. So you have to be really mindful of that. The other element is enlargement of the vocal cords, enlargement of the clitoris and genitalia, changing of the bone structure, especially the jawline. I've seen this as well from people who've abused thyroid medication and growth hormone, not just steroids. For you ladies out there, know that bodybuilding can be an amazing experience. However, there are certain doors that if you go through them, they will lock behind you and you will never be able to go back. So you need to be really wise and really mindful on what you decide to do to your body. A coach never dictates what you do. You decide what you do. And if you have any questions or hesitations, your coach should be able to answer them. If they answer back saying, oh, just take this is what you need to do, that's a red flag. And if it was me, I would say, see ya. So ladies, this is just some considerations when it comes to bodybuilding and short-term and long-term impact. Once again, I've learned so much in this sport. It's helped develop me into the woman I am today. And honestly, I don't have any regrets in that. And that's why I have this channel to share transparently the good, the not so great, and the ugly, so that we can all build community and uplift each other through the process together and hopefully make the sport better for the future to come.